Tell us about your life.
I was born with my hearing loss. It's genetic. I have a twin sister, but she didn't have any of the same ear situations or problems that I was born with. A lot of people, have hearing loss later in life, but mine was since I was little. So my parents didn't detect it until I was a much older child. So when my mom noticed I wasn't even speaking until I was about 3 years old, she thought that was a little unusual, but again, she already knew I had problems with my ears physically because I had a lot of infections and things, so she didn't move too quickly to I guess, assist any way, because she just was waiting to see what would happen, and the doctors told her the same thing. But I grew up in a very small town. It's near Fort Worth. There was only about 1,000 people, and so I grew up in a very small town, and all my family was hearing, and my sister and everything. So we didn't have a lot of resources, or at least my parents didn't know of any. So I was mainstream schooled. When I was really little, up until I went to high school, it was all mainstream school. I didn't know anyone else with hearing loss, and I didn't have any hearing aids. I didn't get any accommodations, because I think most of that was because my parents didn't know, and they didn't know what to do and where to go, and I just learned to adapt the whole time. So even though I think that I progressed really slowly with my learning, I kept up enough to where they didn't notice it was as hard for me as it was had I had the right accommodations, and if they had have known the right communication tips. That was a really hard struggle for me. My sister tried to help me a lot through that, because she was going through honors classes and I was trying to just make it through, and so she would help me a lot until we got into high school, and she was splitting off into other classes I couldn't get into, and I became very attached to like photography and art. Everything visual was a big thing for me, so that really helped me a lot to feel like I had something I was good at, because everything else was such a struggle in the classroom. And then outside of class, I didn't really have a lot of friends, and just felt kind of isolated, because I didn't think anyone else understood, and I got teased a lot, because I couldn't hear. But they thought, oh, well, your speech is pretty good, you can hear enough. So I got in trouble a lot for selective hearing and things like that I couldn't help, and then when I was about halfway through high school, the doctors, I always saw tons of different doctors all the time. I was in and out of ear doctors, and they wanted to try a surgery on one of my deaf ears. It was completely deaf, so I didn't really know if it was the right thing or not, because I was just a kid, but my mom said we should try it, so I did, and I had a complete reconstruction procedure done on one of my ears, and it was really hard to go through, but it gained me a little bit of hearing, but I was still so hard of hearing, I still needed help. And so what I found that I look back on now is that during those times of getting procedures and surgeries done, a lot of times that got looked at as, oh, you're fixed, you got this, you're fixed, and it wasn't ever that way for me. But I was so good at learning so fast to mimic and bluff and adapt that that made it look like I was having a much less hard time. And I guess after that, I didn't want to have anything else done, and I was about to get out of high school, just barely graduating, so I just wanted to try to take a break from school after all of that, and then that's when, like a few years later after that, I moved to Austin in 1999. I first knew about TSD and the deaf community here, like when I first moved here, and I was just so happy, because I felt like I'm somewhere where people understand me, because where I was from, it was just such a small town, and we were near big cities, but where we were living, where I was living, it was so small that no one did know of any resources. I didn't know anyone else that had hearing loss. I really thought I was the only one, and I really believed that I didn't fit in anywhere. I felt so in between different worlds,